I want to thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Fuad Bata. I'm the president of Asaca. Asaca and the board of Asaca and I have been trying to get some information because we've been asked a lot about the process of bringing Syrian refugees to Michigan. We decided to have a gathering where we invite all the organizations that are involved in this process. And luckily we were able to get, I would say, the main organizations in the area, national and local organizations. And they will be all talking about what they do, or at least explain to us the process of bringing Syrian refugees from the beginning up till they arrive to the country here, and then after they arrive, what really takes place. I'm sure most of the Syrian community here, the Arab community, and also of course, the American community, they're all interested to know more about the process. We all have questions that we don't have answers for yet, that we would like to know more information about. I want to thank all the organizations that are participating today for coming. Ruba Salman, she's our executive director. She will be emceeing the event today and will be introducing everyone, and she'll talk about the process, how it's going to go tonight. Again, thank you very much, and if you have any questions, you're going to have enough time for questions and answers, and Ruba's going to go through that process.
Thank you, Fuad. Thank you everyone for coming. It's a great turnout. Thank you for your interest. First, I would like to say a big thank you to all the great organizations who came within a very short time, worked with us together to put this event, to give the information out. We know that there's a lot of interest in this subject, the Syrian refugees. And we hope that you can come out with some great information, and you can each find some way, some organization that we'd like to work with and help. I just would like to introduce the organization. They're not in the order that they're sitting. We have the Lutheran Social Services of Michigan. We have Mr. Kenneth Pauty. We have the Catholic Charities of Southeast Michigan, Ms. Geralda Hattar. Welcome. The U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigration, the Detroit office, Ms. Zaina Hamadi. Thank you for coming. And Bethany Christian Services, they came all the way from Grand Rapids, so we really want to thank Ms. Christine and her friends. We also have from the organization, before we go on, these four organizations are the organizations that are assigned by the government to take on the refugees in general when they come to the U.S. Their job is to take care of them from the minute they come to the country, all the way getting ready, get them ready, and you will hear in details about them. We also have organizations that help in general. They provide many services. One of them is also helping the refugees. We have the American Red Cross, Southeast Michigan, Ms. Khawla Waqaf, thank you for coming. We also have Access, Arab American Center for Economic and Social Services, Ms. Madiha Tariq, thank you. And the Arab American and Chaldean Council, Mr. Ghassan Yunan, thank you for coming. And we also have the Syrian American Rescue Network, SARM, which is a newer organization that were established because of the situation of the Syrian refugees. And we have Dr. Aisha Fatima representing us. And of course, we are Asaca, we're a non-profit organization. We've been in the area since 1996. And we're very happy to have you all. Thank you very much. I think Ms. Geralda Hattar is going to start talking. And I'm going to pass another mic, please.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name again is Geralda Hattar. Is there static, or am I the one hearing it? I apologize. Okay, so again, my name is Geralda Hattar. I'm with Catholic Charities of Southeast Michigan. And I'm very happy to be here tonight, and we're happy that all of us, I think, are happy and willing to present or to be available for questions and answers and any other events that you can think of in your groups and organizations. So we are part of a larger network. As Ruba had mentioned, the resettlement agencies in Detroit are Catholic Charities of Southeast Michigan, Lutheran Social Services of Michigan, and USCRI in Dearborn, and all three of us are part of a larger network. And our sister agency, Bethany Christian Services, is in Grand Rapids doing the same line of work as we do. And we are part of a larger network that it consists of 9 voluntary organizations that are contracted by the federal government to provide refugee resettlement services in the U.S., and that's post-arrival. So once the refugees arrive is when we start working with the refugees. And we have a tough challenge to work with refugees in 3 months and gear them towards self-sufficiency, which is a very unrealistic expectation that a refugee would arrive, learn all the language skills that they need to survive, learn the culture and the laws and just the societal process and government process in 3 months. And become self-sufficient, working, supporting themselves. But we do the best we can to lay the foundation for them. And the government also looks at this as a public-private partnership. So we're really happy with the community support that we have in the Metro Detroit area specifically. We're a model community, to be honest with you, for welcoming and serving refugees in the United States. So the support of the community and your presence here is an example of that. And just to give you a global perspective, there are over 15 million refugees worldwide currently from all over the world. I always say I wish I can be out of a job one day because there will be no refugees in the world, but that's unrealistic. But as long as refugees are coming to the United States, we're honored to be serving them. Out of the 15 million, only 85,000 refugees are coming to the United States. And we face a lot of sometimes questions as to, are they taking our jobs? Do we have the capacity to serve them? We have people in need of our own. And my answer to that always is, this is a drop in an ocean. And so we're blessed as a nation and as a community to be able to share and to give an opportunity of life to someone who has no fault for being born in a zone that has been corrupted and devastated by war. And so the process is lengthy. I'll try to do this in less than 5 or 10 minutes. tough task. But refugees are individuals who face persecution for several reasons. So I encourage you to look online at the UNHCR website. There's a lot of information on statistics and definitions of refugee status and all kinds of information that can help you learn more about the refugees globally. So refugees face persecution for the reasons of their race, their religion, their ethnicity, their political opinion, or belonging to a social group, such as Asaca. That can be basis for discrimination and or persecution. And the government, the key is that the government is either unable or unwilling to protect them. And in many cases, as you've heard, the governments are the persecutors themselves. And so the refugees are typically individuals who end up fleeing their country with pretty much nothing but their clothes on their backs, and they end up in a neighboring country. And once they arrive in the neighboring country, they seek the protection and the assistance of the UN's, the HCR office, which is the UN High Commissioner for Refugees. That's where the process starts. That's when they can become recognized internationally as refugees. And they go through an interview process proving their eligibility or meeting that definition of a refugee. And once they do, they are given a refugee certificate. Once they go through that process, they're referred to a resettlement program at a country where their specific ethnic group or nationality is accepted or welcomed. Not every refugee has the opportunity of resettlement, unfortunately. So we're grateful for the fact that some of the populations that we have been working with do have that opportunity. Just so you know, there are generations that live and people that are born and die in refugee camps before they have an opportunity to be resettled. So again, I encourage you to learn more about that online. Once they are referred to the resettlement process, for example, in our situation, the U.S. program, that's when the process starts with many steps of screening and interviewing. So the first step is the security clearance starts, and that's when the refugees' biographic and biometric information is shared or checked across the agencies and across governments and law enforcement and intelligence agencies or databases. So there's actually a very good video that I encourage you to look up online on YouTube. It was produced or narrated actually by the Secretary of the Department of State, Jay Johnson. Some of you might have seen it. It's a very thorough video on what a refugee process looks like. It's, I think, maybe 10 minutes, not even, and it's a very, very good description. The agencies that are involved in the security clearance of a refugee include the National Counterterrorism Center, the Department of Justice, the FBI, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, and the branch of the USCIS, where an immigration officer actually interviews the refugees again to prove their eligibility for refugee status, and the Department of State and the Department of Defense. So once this security clearance process goes through and the refugees are approved and they are approved by the immigration officer, I have competition, don't I? It would be great to show the video right now, but again, I encourage you to look it up. Once all of this is done and completed, then the refugees are referred for a health screening process where they go through health and mental health screening, and a medical report is produced. And once that's completed, all of that information is sent to the Department of State, where it's reviewed by representatives of the 9 voluntary organizations that resettle refugees and a representative of the Department of State weekly. And that's where the allocation process happens. And that's where the refugee cases are reviewed and allocated to certain geographic areas based on whether or not they have a relative in that area and or the agency's capacity to receive that family and serve them well. And once the application is determined and the verification or the assurance is completed and sent overseas to the refugee service center or support center, then the case is referred to the International Organization for Migration for the travel arrangements. In that process, typically the federal government says it can be up to 24 months or so. I can tell you that it's very rare that a family would go through such a short process. Most families we have been working with here in Metro Detroit have been in the process for at least 3 to 5 years, if not more. And once the travel arrangements are made, then that information is communicated to the clients, to the refugees directly, as well as to our agencies, which then that's when we start preparing for the refugees' arrival. And that notice can be, just so you know, anywhere from 1 to 3 or 4 weeks maximum. So sometimes we have plenty of time to prepare, sometimes we don't, and that's where the community organizations and volunteers, the community at large, can be really instrumental in helping in that preparation process. And my colleague Ken will go over what happens once the refugees arrive.
Thank you. So when they come to the airport, everything needs to be in place. We're required by the government to have things ready for these folks when they arrive. And that means when they arrive at the airport, they are to be welcomed. So we usually try to have a group of people there to welcome them. And among that group of people, one of the people there needs to be able to speak the language of the refugees coming. When they are picked up from the airport, when they're welcomed home, they're brought to their place where they'll be living. And while they come home, there's going to be a hot meal there waiting for them. These are all requirements for our agencies to provide for these refugees. Once that happens, most times they may eat, they may not, a lot of them are very exhausted, so, but nonetheless, they do have everything there. Their apartment or home is fully furnished. They have food in their cupboards that speaks to wherever they come in their ethnic background, and then a warm meal based on where they're from is also there waiting for them. And thus begins that process towards self-sufficiency. And like Jerome said, it's 90 days to get these folks on that path. And so our agencies then partner with other community organizations. This makes for a very dramatic presentation. If only I could see my notes. There's the screen.
This is what they feel in Syria.
Yes, that's right. So I'll just go ahead and continue. Oh, there we go. So when they are in their place of residence, those first 2 weeks to 30 days are the most intense time for them, because they have to